Hello and welcome to Generic Sports Podcast. I'm your host Josh.
And I'm John.
Today we are going to do our Week 1 NFL analysis. I mean, we're just here to talk some football. I know we've talked football the last every episode so far.
It is football season though.
It is football season. We love football. We will get to some other sports here soon, I promise. But it's Week 1 NFL. We love it. I promise we will also talk about some college football as well, because I mean Dion looking good. But we'll get into that. We'll get into that in the coming up episode. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Denver Broncos, because first of all, they are my team. Score was the same. There were some low points. Honestly, I think the worst thing was the kicking. But I'll get into that. My big thing is it was just all of these takes are just it's Week 1. We may sound panicky in some situations, not just but the truth is it's just Week 1. As far as the Broncos go, it takes some time to get culture set in.
Well, I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo lost to you guys last season by 1 point. Now he wins by 1 point.
Right?
And so when he lost by 1 point, the 49ers went off to do good. So maybe it'll be the other way around this time.
Right? I mean, look at the 49ers. Like you said, it's like, I mean, first of all, Jimmy Garoppolo, a little bit of a revenge game after the stepping out of bounds and getting them a safety, and that literally lost them the game.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe Jimmy Garoppolo had this game circled a little bit and wanted to make sure, if I'm Josh McDaniels and I got laughed out of town, still, well, you're not the worst coach now, but for a time you were. I would want to try and get revenge, and I would want to make sure I at least look good. So I got to give credit where credit is due, and you know what? Good job, Raiders. Good job, Max Crosby. You were definitely you stopped us. You got us out of field goal range. I mean, I don't know if we would have made the kick anyways, but Will Lutz, you were definitely on a hot seat after Week 1 because we got rid of Brandon McManus. We didn't know what to do. I know culture. I do say culture does take time, but I mean, kicking is really important.
Kicking has been the most important thing that I've seen in football ever since we've been kids. I don't like so many Super Bowls, so many games have been won and lost by kicking. Like the Chiefs losing to the Colts last year was because Harrison Butker was hurt.
Right? And nobody wants to admit it, but there are some of Tom Brady's rings that he would not have without Adam Vinatieri.
He deserves so many more Super Bowl like MVP Super Bowl rings than Tom Brady because he literally won some of those games.
I mean, yeah, the last second field goals they made that field goal. He needed to make that field goal. They won some of those games.
Even Harrison Butker, last minute Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl last year or this year, whatever, for Patrick Mahomes for the Chiefs.
I mean, yeah, we get it. And that's the thing. It's like it's a team sport. Well, like that's the thing. A lot of people put a lot of pressure and a lot of praise on the quarterback, but my goodness, the kicker. I know we want to say the running back is I know that you don't play the full game, but
the kicker is like one of the most important positions because it is the easiest. It has the most pressure, and you're easily replaced if you don't make these things. You will lose your job the quickest if you're the kicker.
Right? Adam Vinatieri is a Hall of Famer, and Justin Tucker is a Hall of Famer, and they are future Hall of Famers. They have to be. Kicking is so important. We probably have already lost some audience because we are talking about kickers.
They deserve they also that there should be a special team spot in the Hall of Fame that deserve that special teamers get their own spot that has to be picked every year because there's a lot of special teams players like kickers and punters that are the best at their position, like how we mentioned, that haven't been recognized by the Hall of Fame.
Right? Yeah. But we'll get into that another time. I just want to say special teams are very important. The Broncos, yes, the score is the same as Week 1 last season, but my biggest takeaway was what was Sean Payton brought in there to do? Improve Russ. Russ was better in this game. He had 2 touchdowns than his last game against the Raiders where he had no touchdown. He had more yards. I think he had less yards, but he had more. He had a better quarterback rating. He had a lot of different he just looked better. And yeah, he lost that ball, but it wasn't a fumble. But he looked good, and he didn't look afraid. Like, that was one of the things. Like, he looked afraid a lot of times last season. But at the end of the day, yeah, Sean Payton, maybe it wasn't like I like that he called the. I wish it worked. It was just a tad bit early, but that was, you definitely surprised them. Surprised everybody. And yeah, when it comes down to it, there's three phases of the game. Our second half did not look great. It didn't look horrible because we didn't turn the ball over. But there are three phases of the game, and we lost. We lost on special teams, and that's really what it came down to, because Will Lutz would make 4 points.
I mean, even if you got the extra point from the first touchdown, that was like that's
at least overtime.
The game might have even ended in a tie if you make that.
Right, and it's not a loss. But but that's the thing. Am I disappointed? Yeah. Am I still? I'm optimistic. It feels good to have Broncos football. It just feels good to have football back in general.
I mean, your win-loss record's the same as the Chiefs and the Chargers, so you're in good company.
I guess that's true. And that sucks. We have a divisional loss and we're at the bottom, but still 0-1. We can go up from here. So with that, let's talk about your team.
Yes, as the Miami Dolphins beat the Los Angeles Chargers. I was going to say San Diego again because
still feels weird. It will always feel weird.
And I think there were more Dolphins fans at SoFi Stadium than there were Chargers fans. But still, on to the game that Tua and the Dolphins looked fantastic offensively. Like, Tua threw for over 400 yards. I was like, dear God, I didn't realize he threw for so many yards. Like, there were points at this time that I was watching it and I was having some stream issues. So I went to check, like, I saw, like, my fantasy players from the Dolphins, like, they had the ball, and I was wondering, like, did Justin Herbert get intercepted or anything? And when I went to check, it was like 20-24, and then when I went to this website, it was like 26-24 because the Dolphins just scored in like 2 seconds. And it literally was like the pass where it was like it was a 1 yard drive. It was a 1 play drive where Tua just threw it to Tyreek and scored. And that was like half the game because of Tyreek's like 215 yards. And it's nice to be a Dolphins fan seeing like the advent of Tua, who's becoming like Dan Marino here and throwing for so many yards, and that the offense is playing well. And the defense, it didn't seem like the defense didn't play as good as it needed to, but it came through at the end because it got the sacks on Justin Herbert to stop him. Like, it helped when it mattered. They just need to do that the whole game, not just when it mattered. But their defense couldn't stop us. Tua wasn't sacked, and I just really wanted this after losing to the Chargers because the Herbert Tua dialogue has not stopped, and it's probably never going to stop. They're both going to be compared to each other, but they're both great quarterbacks. They're both probably on the way to being elite quarterbacks. They're just like, they both do things well, and like, just this game, Tua played better than Justin Herbert.
I mean, I looked at the stat lines and I'm like, yeah, the defense must not have played well for either team, because one team has 400 yards and I mean Justin Herbert has 200 yards and they only lose by 2. Like, that looked really surprising when, like, I think Justin Herbert had like one touchdown. I mean, I'm guessing there were a lot of running ones.
There was a lot. They had what was it? Their run game, since they got Kellen Moore from the Cowboys, who like to run the ball. Their run game is really strong, except the run game doesn't do much when your team can score in 9 seconds.
Yeah, I mean that is a really important play at the end of the first half. Like, that pass interference really hurt the Chargers. Get that 3 points when you lose by 2. Again, special teams.
Yeah, like, I was worried that Jason Sanders missed the extra point at the end, but the defense came through to see. That's how they all work together. The defense can make up for offensive problems and special teams problems.
Right? You basically you won the 2 phases. You won 2 of the. I don't think anybody really won defense with the way that point in the
Miami won.
Stat line look.
Miami only won. I don't know who won defense because we had 3 turnovers. We still won the game, but we had, like, I think 2 to 3 sacks.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess defensive plays when it counts, Miami won defensively, but it's still when you had the highest scoring game of week 1, I think, from both sides, the defenses really didn't do a good job either side. And I think going forward, our defense should do better, but I think this just might have been against a very good offense too.
Right. And I think this is like one of those. This is the start of a rivalry. I mean, between where the quarterbacks were taken, the fact that like 2-1, so it's pretty even. But it's always been a rivalry. Like I know for years you hated when the Dolphins would play in San Diego at the time, because like I think you always had a quarterback that got hurt for years. But now it's really a rivalry.
Yeah.
So like I'm excited to see, like, this is a potential. This was one of the most important week 1 wins when you think about it, because most people do not have the Chargers or the Dolphins winning the division. So this is a huge conference win early, because you both could be playoff bound, and the fact that you've got the one up on them, that means like you could, like say if it's a worst case scenario, you guys are fighting for the 7th seed, you've got the win over them.
Mm-hmm.
Best cases, or another cases, you're fighting for like the 5-6 seed. So it could be Miami versus Jacksonville, or you're not having to face like maybe like Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. They might be now. So
yeah, or like at best we're competing for 1 and 2 seed, and winning them gives us the 1 seed.
Yes, that's the absolute best case, and that means you get a home.
Mm-hmm.
You get home field advantage and the bye week. So
exactly. So it was a very important win. I think honestly, even if we lost the game, I would have been excited. Like both teams played well. I think even the Chargers fans, they don't really. I don't take anything away from the Chargers. I think they played really well. I think they're in good hands. I think Kellen Moore was really good for them offensively, because their run game was very hard to stop, even with how good our defense is. The Dolphins' defense is supposed to be. So I think going forward, I just think their defense will be better against not Tua and Tyreek. Like I think they might. I think both teams' defenses just were put up against very good offenses. So we'll see how their defenses go going forward. But I think there is nothing to. I think just your O-line needs to do better to not let Herbert get sacked.
Right. Definitely. That could be their weak link, and we'll see. We'll see where they go from like the rest of the season. Like I'm not looking forward to seeing when the Broncos play them, but I'm always not. But we'll, especially after last season, where I mean they were fighting for they were in the playoffs. They had nothing to fight for. They were playing their starters, and we were beating them with the Broncos were beating them with nothing.
And the Broncos were fighting for nothing. Yeah, like that might be like how we said on the predictions podcast about Brandon Staley.
Yeah.
It's still up on him, but I think their offense is in the right place, but their defense is the problem.
Right. I think that's good. I think we can move on to
go Dolphins.
Right. One little thing I forgot to mention with the Broncos. I do hope that we continue to see improvement. Like that's gonna be the big thing with Russ. We do have to win some games, because if not, yeah, he will get benched at some point. If they can't win a game, so we'll see what happens. Next thing up, let's talk about the Eagles and the Patriots, because that one's a weird game, because like we're checking our phones, we're watching the red zone, we're flipping through channels, and we're just we're checking everything just to see how these games are going, because we also play in our fantasy league, and we're like I got the Eagles defense, and I'm like what the heck? How did they got like 18 points on defense, and they got 16-0, and I'm just like, wow, that's pretty impressive. And it's like they got a pick six, and it's 16, and I'm like, I know they got 2 touchdowns. So like first the Eagles are disrespecting the Patriots defense, going for 2-point conversion. And we're like they're looking good, and then it's like all of a sudden everything turns around. It's like, whoa, the Patriots.
I think the Patriots adjusted at halftime there.
Before halftime. halftime because they were looking good. They like outscored the 20-9. Yeah, like the Eagles only got 9 more points, and the only way to do that is did they just get 3 field goals then, or did they get a touchdown and safety? But I'm pretty sure it was just 3 field goals after that. So I mean the Patriots defense came alive. Like that sounds a little concerning to me. Like
well, I mean it was in the rain, which that does affect things, but I mean, the Patriots did come back, but
I mean, Mac also threw for like 300 yards. Yeah, he had an interception early in the game, but he had 3 touchdowns, 300 yards. I mean, I'm not gonna be over here like, oh wow, I'm all on Mac now, but like he definitely looked better than a few quarterbacks that did win their games, but also way better than some that lost their games. But that's another thing we'll talk about a little later. I don't, like I said, I don't want to be worried about the Eagles, but that defense started strong, and then and the offense like I hope it's not the dreaded Super Bowl hangover, because they have way too much talent and stuff to, you know, I'm like the reminds me of the Broncos from the 2016 season after winning the Super Bowl, mind you, that didn't have, you know, and the Carolina Panthers, like they both teams were not the same after that Super Bowl. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, they did lose some of their 2 coordinators, so there is going to be some change in how their scheme was. And I mean, even Vic Fangio was the defensive consultant on their team too. But I think their talent is there. I think they just needed to they changed their game plan. The most important thing was they won the game. I mean, ugly wins are still better than not.
I questioned that after I mentioned the whole Broncos and Jimmy Garoppolo last year. That was an ugly win, but if we didn't get that win, maybe we would have fired our coach sooner. So
it depends on the wins are always preferably better than losses as long as you're trending upward.
Right. I mean, it was a win. It wasn't the best win, and they can definitely improve upon.
I mean, they need to improve because they didn't get, like, I had like DeAndre Swift and Dallas Goedert on my fantasy bench, thankfully, because they got shit. They got nothing. Like they barely got any plays to them. I know they have multiple running backs, so that's like one thing. But you traded for DeAndre Swift, so you think you'd get him in the ball game a little more. And Dallas Goedert is one of your top like pass catchers after Devonta Smith and AJ Brown. So I know it was raining out, but we'll see what happens with we'll see what happens with them. For the Patriots, I imagine the Dolphins are getting into a shootout next Sunday night, unless the defense not doing well was just because of Justin Herbert. But till that's proven otherwise, I'm seeing shootout season with the Patriots on Sunday Night Football.
It should be a fun game, but with Jalen Hurts gets to play on Thursday Night Football. He only made like 14 points, or at least 14 points in our league. I know, like, you know, so probably less in other people's leagues.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm glad AJ Brown made like almost 15 points, so at least he was safe. But it was a bit of a like I said at the beginning, like not too worried. Week 1 has a lot of hype because we haven't seen any of these teams, and now we'll see how these teams go and
right. Like week 1 is such a weird one because some teams, like maybe I remember the Jaguars a few years ago, only won the first 2 weeks and didn't win after that. Like you go 2-0
right,
and think you have all the hype, and then you have nothing, and then you end up you have nothing.
14, and wasn't that when they got Trevor Lawrence, or was it the
I think that was when they got Trevor Lawrence.
The year after.
I think they went back-to-back years or something.
They did get the number 1 pick back-to-back years, yeah.
But one of those 2 years they won the first 2 games and nothing else. But still, like, so is this anything to worry about for the Eagles? It remains to be seen.
It does. Now I think we'll go on to go talk about the rookie QBs in those games. I saw the rookies played like a fine. None of them won, which wasn't really surprising.
I mean, we weren't really expecting any of them in some of these matchups. Like CJ Stroud, Houston against the Ravens. I was like, no way they're beating the Ravens defense with how high everyone thought the Ravens were going to be, and the Ravens dominated them like we all thought.
I told our dad that to take the Ravens at 9.5 points. I was like, yeah, they'll get that done. I'm not even too worried about it. It's just because Houston's like fresh, new, different. They're wiping away the losing culture, and they've got a quarterback. They're behind right now, and we'll see
CJ
what
still
happens.
needs to get used to the game. He played well in preseason, but like he's still in preseason, like he was having troubles. I think they might start winning games down when partway during the season, but that's only because I think they have a weak schedule, and like someone has to win between CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson.
Right. Let's before we get into that, I just was gonna say, yeah, no, Stroud looked fine. Bryce Young, I don't want to talk to, like the rookie QBs, they played fine. They'll do good. Anthony Richardson, he was definitely looking the best in a lot of ways. Except he needs to start sliding.
It sounds like Anthony Richardson is having the issues Tua had when Tua was a rookie and stuff, not sliding and stuff. And it's like maybe he should reach out to Tua or reach out to others, because like you need to like fix these issues early to prolong your career.
Yeah. Now on the flip side, okay, well, Baltimore looked really good. Sucks about J.K. Dobbins, but they looked good. And like I said, I'm not gonna hold too much weight on there's a lot to take. Don't take too much from week one. I mean, especially with Baltimore, that's exactly how they should have played. So I'm excited to see if they can build off that. And the same thing with the Falcons. Bijan Robinson looked great. That was a lot of running. Tyler Algiers.
Yeah. I think we have his name right now.
Right. He looked good. That run game. They ran it.
And they didn't even have Cordarrelle Patterson yet. He's still recovering.
Right. So who knows what else? How much more running they can get that going. Jacksonville. That was like I said, the Trevor Lawrence needs to just I do worry about the fumbles, but that was a weird play. I'm glad that Jacksonville came back from that, and Jacksonville looked really, really good overall in that game.
Jacksonville did look like they played really well. Trevor's looking great. Calvin Ridley's paying off.
Calvin Ridley, I was a little worried about a little rust. I'm glad he played in the preseason. He looked dynamic, and I do think that might be a little bit of a mistake from getting rid of him from the Falcons. But
I don't think it's. I think the Falcons are being fine right now, but we will see.
Right. I get they're playing a different kind of ball, but we'll see if that works. The rookie quarterbacks looked good. Looked all right. They'll get a win. Some of them, I don't think any of them aren't going to get a win this season. So I think we'll see improvement as the season goes on.
Yeah, I only feel one team's has a chance to go 0-17, but that's the one because they're planning. That's what they want.
Right. Well, do they want that? Because that's a good transition over to my most disappointing list, and we'll talk about the games. But these were kind of like some of the honorable mentions, like the Chargers, and we already talked about them. The Broncos, they were disappointing. But I gotta put it's weird because the Cardinals you think they want to lose. They don't have a starting. They don't have a lot of they don't look like they're built to win. So I kind of feel like I got to put one of my honorable mentions as the Commanders on this.
The thing is with the Cardinals is that this was it when the Dolphins were tanking. Is that the general manager and the owner they make the roster so it's difficult to win, not impossible, difficult. The players still want to win. Joshua Dobbs, I always thought looked good in preseason, and when he's come into games, it's just that they don't have the talent to be able to win. But the Cardinals look like they had the talent to. They almost won the game against the Commanders, and I played the Commanders defense in fantasy, thinking this is going to be they're going to have the most points. And while I got a decent amount of points from them, it did not go as exactly how it should have gone.
Well, that's why they're first of all, the Commanders winning, that's why they're only an honorable mention on this list. The biggest thing is but they have so much talent, and they got Eric Bieniemy, and like,
I mean, yes, it was Sam Howell's second start.
it was, but that defense also has pretty stacked too. So it's just it's disappointing.
I know.
It's not but they got the win. It's not as disappointing as my top 5.
The Commanders, I think, are on the same list as the Eagles. With they won, but it's concerning.
Yeah, but like I said, it's just week 1, so I don't want to dig too much into it. It's a little bit more concerning for the Commanders
because it wasn't raining out. I don't think it was raining. I don't think it was raining, and they have a lot of weapons, and should have one of the best defenses. So
like I said, I got a top 5 of, I guess we can do this as most disappointing as well as kind of surprising. So because we're going to talk about both teams, and I'm kind of going to rearrange this than what I have written down, and I gotta say that number 5 belongs to the Seahawks. I mean, there are a lot of teams on here that were just like, that is pretty shocking after that turnaround you had last season, and then to go out there and lose to the Rams. They don't have Cooper Kupp. I know Matthew Stafford and Aaron Donald are there, but like Higbee, Van Jefferson.
No. They didn't lose to like Higbee and Van Jefferson. They lost to like these rookies or second-year players. Like I saw the players on the fantasy list that were in free agency, like Kyron Williams, who I remember him from like last year as like a rookie. Who he got a ton of points. Tutu Altwell, who was one specifically I remember on Thursday. They mentioned like people taken before Amon-Ra St. Brown, and it's like, oh yeah, Tutu Altwell, not that great. Got over 100 yards. I'm like, okay, maybe something different here. And I don't even know how to pronounce the other rookie, like Puka, I think his name is, or something, is for the Rams. Like they had these fresh talent, and Matthew Stafford, I think, makes a damn bit of difference.
Matthew Stafford is really showing his, I think he's showing his worth a little bit more. Like, I was like, well, is he really that great? Like, I know they won a Super Bowl, but like, look at how Jared Goff is. And I'm like, I'll be honest with you, Matthew Stafford, but most importantly, Sean McVay, right now, if they can do it, they are showing me my big question: can Sean McVay develop talent? And if they can continue together to develop this talent and get a few more wins, like that's going to be awesome for them building back to the playoffs, maybe this season, but definitely if they're on that track next season. Now that is my 5th most shocking team. But now let's talk a little bit more about that most disappointing. Because like, if you're a Seahawks fan, you're going into this game. They're playing up in Lumen Field. You're in home field, Seattle, and you're like, okay, we made the playoffs. Gino, we got signed. We're all good. Like we are building off what we built off last season. Now, are you able to hold on to that, or was that just a huge chip on everybody's shoulder because of Russell Wilson? Now, are you a little too, complacent? Like, because that wasn't like Broncos like 1 point loss or something like the Chargers. That was a 2-score loss. And there was a lot of ugly, I was shocked at that score. Like that was not a game I was really look at, because I was just like, oh yeah, Seattle's got that. Like, what is the Rams going to do? Like, what were the Rams going to do? And the Rams did what everybody didn't expect and won.
Yeah, I was looking at the stat line. The rookie, his name is Puka Nakua. I don't know if I pronounced that right. But him, Puka and Tutu, fun names, both had 119 yards each.
Wow. That is actually really surprising to have. Like that. That's gonna make me think about fantasy a little bit if they do it again next week. I'm not gonna go out and pick them up, but maybe in week 3 I might pick somebody up. But yeah, don't want to. It's just disappointing and shocking in the bad way about the Seahawks, because that was definitely one of those games that I had the Seahawks winning, and I thought that they were gonna be. And like I said, too early, but right now, if you're feeling and like you're feeling. So I say most disappointing because the fan base is probably really disappointed.
I mean, I think it has to be like Seattle's defense. I mean, I think their offense is sacked, and it looked like their offense was doing pretty well because I played against like three offensive players from Seattle in fantasy. So like, and they were all doing pretty well. But I know fantasy is not, it doesn't correspond to the real game, but it does mean they are getting yards.
You're getting
scores.
Offensive production. Yeah.
They are getting production. So, but it really seems like with having two receivers at 119 yards, that their defense was the problem. And coming from the Legion of Boom era, like they still that if they can't get back to like a strong if they can't get it together defensively, they're not going to go far here. But it does show the Rams might still be in this.
The next team I've got on my list, I'm changing up my list as I'm thinking about this because I actually think I'm gonna redo this. It's a tough one. I had them originally at 2 as far as most disappointing, but like I gotta lower. It's the Steelers. I mean, there's a lot of disappointment on this list, but like I saw tons of predictions from a lot of people, and y'all had them going like, oh, they're going to the playoffs. They're going or winning the. I'm just like, this did not look like a team that was even going to sniff the playoffs. Kenny Pickett, I mean, and no, I'm sorry, like it's very concerning because the 49ers defense is good, but what you're playing in we called it like the I forget what we called it, the hard hitting. This is like the slobber knocker division, and you got like knocked out. What was it like
30-7?
30-7, and that was like I mean, and you guys played in the preseason. I know that was probably why they were hyping up a lot of people, but like that was like the worst. That was the worst home opener for Mike Tomlin. Might be his worst week one as a coaching performance, but they look bad. And I know our friend Zach, he wants them to fire Matt Canada, and I'm not gonna lie, if they can't get offensive production when you've got like you got Najee Harris, Pat Freiermuth, Deontay Johnson.
I think Freiermuth got hurt.
He did, but he didn't have any point. He only until that touchdown, and I think he came back from getting hurt before the touchdown. I forget because we were watching tons of stuff. But and you also have George Pickens, so. There's a lot of talent that should be developing, and like they look good. That's why it's really disappointing because I know Steelers fans were really exciting, and they're on here because it's a lot of people, a lot of our favorite sports shows, they were picking our favorite people were picking them to make the playoffs. So it's a big disappointment.
I mean, the Steelers. It's not. Well, I mean, it's not really. This is probably the least shocking. Like on the opposite side, 49ers is probably the least shocking because they are, as I like to live in the 90s or early 2000s, still all that in a bag of chips with Brock Purdy, and Purdy looked fantastic like normal.
Let's finish up with the Steelers.
But getting back to my point getting back to it, I was roundabouting my way there. But the Steelers,
did they lose their bag of chips?
I mean, the Steelers, they just look like they didn't play well enough, but it's hard to play well against this fantastic defense. Like, if you're playing one of the star teams and you're still like a team that's in a kind of rebuilding itself, I mean, these are young Pickens and Najee Harris and like the others. They're still young players. They're good, but you're in like one of the most brutal divisions around, and that you couldn't. I think they just need more development, and losing like this, giving them adversity is probably better for them. It really is how you bounce back.
Well, and it is, you're right about bouncing back, but you mentioned a lot of good points about on the offense. I'm actually not too upset with them. I'm actually upset with the defense when you've got like a former defensive player of the year, like TJ Watt, you've got Patrick Peterson, you got Cam Hayward. This defense still has Joey Porter Jr. didn't really play a lot.
He didn't play. I don't know if he played.
Like, was he not start? Like,
I don't know.
Like he was like basically a first round talent because he went 32nd overall.
I don't think I don't know if he played or not. Minka Fitzpatrick didn't do much.
I don't even remember hearing like much as his name. So like, but that's the thing. This defense, 30, like they got I don't think there was a defensive score, was there? There might have been a defensive score, but I don't remember. I just don't remember a lot on the Steelers defense really stopping these players. And I mean, like I know there's a lot of players, but like I mean, Brandon Ayuk 2 touchdowns, and you know it's like man, it was really like I said, it was disappointing and it was surprising to see. It wasn't really much of a surprise that the 49ers were going to win, but to win by that much, I think that was the surprise. Like that was the amazing, you know, like
yeah, there was no defensive touchdown.
Okay.
They just it was all offense. Like Ayuk scored Ayuk and McCaffrey scored touchdowns. Jake Moody kicked a lot of kicks.
He was definitely not booty, not like some other kickers.
There was only three touchdowns. There was a lot of field goals.
Oh, okay. Well, those matter. But that being said, I like Brock Purdy looked good, especially coming off that injury with the elbow. Like he looked really good. I'm happy. I'm hoping he takes his game to another level. That they all like. I would not be upset if the 49ers won Super Bowl this year. They look like a freaking fantastic team.
I mean, the Steelers didn't have much running yards. I mean, their top wide receiver was Allen Robinson, like with the most yards.
Right. That is kind of shocking.
It did look like Joey Porter Jr. only had like one tackle. So this defense
played, you know,
right? This defense like has a lot of good players to it. I just don't think they're getting as like the Dolphins was like the first match of Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy, I think this is beyond Kyle Shanahan's system because like, you know, not every quarterback succeeds in the system because that's why they traded Trey Lance. Brock Purdy is, I think, the real thing here, is the real deal. And I think that's why he took apart this defense.
He's intelligent. Like that's one thing I see in this. Like he's smart and it doesn't overwhelm him. Those are really important factors about about quarterback play. And maybe it's because he was picked 7th and he's got this chip on it. You know, in the last
that he was Mr. Irrelevant. He might have the hugest chip on his shoulder, and that we might stop calling players Mr. Irrelevant if he
everybody talks about Tom Brady being 199. Like like he wins a Super Bowl. He's always going to be Mr. Irrelevant, but like maybe Mr. Irrelevant isn't that irrelevant. So no, I'm excited for Brock Purdy and the 49ers. Anything else to add?
I think the Niners are. I don't think the Niners are. The Niners might have to worry about the Rams more than they have to worry about Seattle here. I think my predictions might have been a little too nice with Seattle, but it depends on what we see. It's still week 1, but the Niners are going. But
that's why it's predictions, and we like to have fun with them. If we knew what they were doing, it would be like those ads that they're showing about with Mickey and Michael Key about it's scripted. We don't know anything that's going on. Like the Broncos are winning the Super Bowl. I mean, what? Nah. Anyways,
I mean, after week 1, the Dolphins are.
I mean, they've got that dark Bronco candidate of Tua's right now like the MVP leader. Like if he can keep that up, it's gonna be. I guess
that's going to be
him and Tyreek. So co-MVPs because that's just how it should be. Can we split the MVP because they could be co-MVPs and that's how it should be.
Right.
One goes up. It's like no, we're just gonna be like this co-MVP. Suck it or something like that.
Right, like 4,000, like over 4,000 yards passing and 2,000 yards receiving or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for the Steelers and the Niners. Who are the next surprise?
Our third most disappointing team. I gotta go with the Bengals, and they're kind of middle of the road. They're third because I mean, if you watch the statistics and like looked at it, like Bengals suck in Cleveland. Joe Burrow sucks in Cleveland, but he really sucks. That whole team really, really sucks.
To go along with their video they did for the release schedule, Cleveland laid the smackdown on the Bengals.
They did. They really did. But you know what? We'll get into Cleveland in a moment, but like, where was T. Higgins didn't get the ball? T. Higgins got nothing. Nope.
Joe Burrow had 80. What was it? 80 yards passing on 30 attempts.
Right, he had
It was not a good day as a Bengals fan.
Right? So this is just one we're gonna be like, we need to look at the film and see what we can do better, especially next time we get into the Browns. But like, I'm not gonna weigh on this one for like I'd say if you're the Bengals, don't weigh on it too long until your next matchup against the Browns.
Swag Daddy Joe, he was like not even affected by it. Like afterwards, right. It's like that he has that much confidence. It's like,
He played like Swag Saddy Joe though, so
yeah, he was that was Lag Saddy Joe.
Right. But that's pretty much it for the Bengals. The Browns.
The Browns on the surprise because we didn't know Jim Schwartz was hired as the defensive coordinator. Like we watch a lot of sports talk shows. This wasn't talked about enough.
Right. I think a lot of people like underestimated the Browns, and I don't know if a lot of people knew that they picked up Jim Schwartz and like a good defensive coordinator. Like that gives a couple extra, maybe 3 extra wins, especially with that much talent on the defense. Like.
Yeah, I heard that, we were watching the game and I heard that. I'm like, when was this announced? I'm like, I might not like Deshaun Watson, but a good defensive coordinator with that much talent on defense, and they have Nick Chubb to run the ball, they're going to destroy teams here like they did. This might be a thing of things to come. Like the Browns might legitimately be like the second best team in this division.
Yeah, and
I don't know who first is with how the Ravens look, and the Bengals just not doing well against the Browns. But
the Bengals I believe play the Ravens next week. But I'm definitely looking right now forward to that the Browns play the Steelers next week. I'm looking forward to the Browns Steelers, but I'm really looking forward to that Browns Ravens game because that could be that defense versus that offense could be a real fun matchup.
I know every week is different, but I think the Browns are going to give the elf smackdown to the Steelers after what happened.
Right, we shall. Because like we said about the last one, if Steelers need to be able to hang with these defenses because everybody got a good defense in that division.
Right, you're going to get
and their defense. Right. Their defense looked real, and their defense, the Steelers, like they couldn't stop a lot of them. So how are you going to stop like Odell and Jamar Chase and Mari Cooper and Nick Chubb and stuff like that?
I don't know how the Steelers are, and the Browns are going to give like the Steelers a skull crushing finale, but I think the Browns played really well. I think they outplayed the Bengals, and I think that was a shock. Honestly, I mean, it was really up to Deshaun Watson and like how well he played, and I think he played well enough. Like they used him just well enough that he didn't make mistakes and stuff. So
when my hand goes up, your mouth. We are wrestling fans, and we appreciate the Miz.
The Miz is one of the most underrated wrestlers, but that is a topic for a different day.
Hey, we're talking about the Browns. You got to give the Miz some love here. So, but I just had to because the Miz is awesome, right?
Yeah.
So anything else on the Browns?
Nick Chubb definitely helped in fantasy football. He was a steal to get him in the third round for me, and one of my best running backs. So I'm happy, and I think they will keep running the ball forward with that. And I think this is nothing. I think the Bengals will pounce back.
I do believe that they will pounce back as well. Mm-hmm. With that, this was just one of those I don't want to say fluky, but this is just one of those this is one of those ones like the next two teams that we're going to talk about, disappointment wise, as well as not really shocking, but like they amazed us with how they did it. But this one, you would think this would be number one because of the score, but I have to say number one because it's a personal one for me. I don't know why personal, but I picked it a lot. But number two is, oh my gosh, the disappointment of the Giants. I mean, that stadium had all the life sucked out of it. I mean,
it was a tennis score. It was 40 love.
It was 40 love.
But there was no love for the Giants.
No, just a lot of rain, disappointment, fumbles, sacks, a defense that crushed them. There was a lot of
special teams that crushed them too. Like, it's like, well, that trade from Miami worked out well for Noah, getting him, since I don't know how to pronounce his last name well enough, but he got a touchdown with got like, I think the first touchdown for the Cowboys. So
I want to say Noah Igwanavane.
No, it's Igwanavane. It's like something like mahogany, like Igwanavane.
Yeah. But besides that, at least first of all, I think the Giants should be able to let everybody in for the Jets game tonight so that they can at least watch a better game. First of all. Second,
well, I mean, we don't know if the Bills aren't going to shut out the Jets.
I said hopefully a better game. Not this, like, we're recording this Monday, so we're a few hours away from that. Anyways, see, that's the thing. Only two special teams and defense won the game. Dak did not have a great game, but he didn't need to have a great game. He missed some passes. And I'm not gonna lie, they gave him the game ball, showed it to him, and he's like, why am I here? Like, why? I don't even deserve this. This should be to the defense, and he's absolutely right. Like, I don't know why he got it. I mean, totally Pollard had some good running, and he got a touchdown. I get that. Like, he was definitely the star of that Dallas Cowboy offense.
Right?
Micah Parsons, and I mean,
no one had, like, for the Cowboys, no one had the first two touchdowns being from Noah Igbanahue and Deron Bland from a blocked field goal return touchdown and an interception return touchdown. Like, no one had that. Like, Tony Pollard ran and stuff. It's right.
Trayvon Diggs, he really popped up. I was like, oh, is he a rookie wonder? Like, he had a bit of a sophomore slump. Man, because he was the one that I think caused the fumble interception type thing. I forget what they counted it as, but that was the second one, was the one where Saquon had it. It popped out of his hands, right? I think, and they went back and got a touchdown. I know Diggs was on the field a lot, and like, he was all over the place. And him and Michael Parsons, like, they could not stop Michael Parsons. My God, like, they want to say, he said that they're the best defense in the league, and after talking about how good the 49ers, but I cannot wait for that game I'm pretty sure I saw it Sunday Night Football, and it deserves to be in Sunday Night Football. I am so hyped for that. When it comes to I know we're talking about the Cowboys. They looked fantastic, and they did what they had to do. So I'm not gonna give too much credit, or I'm not gonna Dak, he did what he had to do. They won the game. This was not a Dak win or loss game. This was it was a team win.
Yeah, it was a team win. Dak, missed some throws, but not everyone misses some throws. It really depends on but missing throws, it really depends on context. If you're up so much, you're allowed some slack. But if that would cost them the game, that's the thing. But situationally, they're fine. But I think, like, it really goes into, like, with the Cowboys, that, like, when we were doing predictions and looking, like, really bought into the hype and really believe in the defense very more, that when I saw, like, man, every time when I would see someone against the Cowboys, I'd pick the Cowboys, and it really feels like, yeah, that's the right decision, because I don't know who's going to beat them, especially with how the Eagles and Commanders having troubles.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, like, it's like the Cowboys. It's like, even if somehow the Eagles, like, pull it off, and, like, the Cowboys can come up and win from but if they get the number one seed, if they keep playing like they do, oh boy, I think whoever wins the 49ers Cowboys game gets the number one seed. I know it's an early call, and I know it's only a week 5 game, but if everybody stays, like, most of the core on both teams stay healthy, that game is going to be uber important, just like Miami and the Chargers.
Well, here's the thing with the Cowboys, is that it depends on the key thing. Is the Cowboys defense this good, or did the Giants suck horribly?
Well, let's talk about the Giants for a second.
Because they couldn't get anything done. Like, I can't believe Daniel Jones actually got more yards than Joe Burrow with this defense, but he magically did. But still, like, I think that but still, they have their run game, but they were swallowed up by the pressure all this time, and their O-line needs to do better. Like these O-lines, like I feel like there's O-lines need to be better. Like somehow, like the coaching needs to be better because not so many teams have bad O-lines and like have young quarterbacks. I'm like, you got to protect these people. Like this is like the O-line is like the most important position here because you're like other positions can't do well unless the O-line's good. But O-linemen like are very good O-linemen are hard to come by to stop like fantastic defenses like the Cowboys.
Yeah, I really don't have much to say. Like they could use some maybe pass catching help, like wide receiver. The only one they got really is Darren Waller.
I mean, they have Darren Waller.
Like hopefully the others can develop, but like it's hard to it's harder to run in the. I thought it's hard to play in the rain. Like I definitely think that it's harder to catch in the rain, but like Saquon can only do so much.
It really depends. Like yes, it was raining, but it does depend on if like some rookies develop, and not only is it hard to catch in the rain, it's hard to throw. Not hard to throw in the rain. It's hard to throw when you have all this pressure coming at you, and it's raining. So even if you do get throws off, the rain's going to get you. So we'll have to see them in maybe a better weathered game.
I forget who they play next week, but like
you can only go up from here, or you can lose 50-0. There, I mean, I guess there is down.
I mean, is it much further down? I think there really is only up from here. Like, so, like, it's an embarrassing loss. So it's really like you're at the bottom. So,
yeah.
Good luck next week, Giants. That's really all I got to say.
It really depends on how they bounce back from adversity, and that is a lot of adversity.
It is. Now,
I just thought of this show. It's like right now they are the mayors of adverse city.
Yes, they are. I mean, I guess they are because this next team that we're going to talk about. I mean, they can't run for office because they are currently all of their stock is bought up by the Packers. The team I decided to leave these guys for number one because the Bears are totally disappointing. The most disappointing because you have spent like this whole time like there is no more Aaron Rodgers. Like you guys had hope, so much hope. I am pacing because I am so excited and so about the Packers, and I'm like, oh, so many thoughts. Like first of all, I mean Justin Fields. You like I said about Ohio State quarterback. Like he can run, that's fine. You're not a running back. You're supposed to be a quarterback. I mean, I thought you had some chemistry with DJ Moore, but I was worried about the preseason. Like, oh yeah, Justin Fields had like 100 and something yards. Yeah, because DJ Moore made like an 80-yard touchdown off a screen pass. He was not a lot of throwing. So it's like, oh.
Well, to be fair, looking at the stats, Justin Fields had about as many passing yards as Justin Herbert and close to Jordan Love himself. So it's not really the passing that's the problem. It's like actually, it's probably their defense because I mean they scored 20 points, which if they played some of these other teams, they would have won.
Well, but, don't get me wrong. It's like Justin Fields does feel like he improved, but it's a lot like the same thing about Russ. Like, you know, what else can you know, it's like you should be able to like win these games. Like, you know, like you want to see this quarterback win these games and do a lot more. And it's not all on Justin Fields, let me say that. But it's like it's just like that's why it's disappointing and why it's on top of my list because you had so many years and Justin Fields was like this is like supposed to be the best quarterback the Bears have ever gotten, and who technically, yeah, Jim McMahon won a Super Bowl with the Bears, but technically the best quarterback the Bears still have ever had is Jay Cutler. And that, I mean, I don't want to say like Jay Cutler was bad. It was or take shots because he was a Broncos quarterback and he did really good. And I think he had a lot of potential that was
he was just under he was under like the wrong kind of coordinators. But we're not here to talk about Jay Cutler. But still. still, Justin Fields, like, you know, the Packers. So yeah, Matt LaFleur is a part of the success of the Packers, and Jordan Love was able to develop. It's just that I don't know if Justin Fields has developed into that yet.
I mean, that's fair, but like, but this is like, I think what, Ryan Pace is the GM, like Matt Eberflus, so who does this fault lie with? Is it the coaching, or is it development? Like, where, you know, like, I know, like I said, it's only game one, but this is a massive game one in this rivalry, like week one. And yeah, it's really only on top of the disappointment list, not because of the score or anything. It was just because it was all this hope, all this maybe it was too much pressure on the Bears and stuff, because was it in Chicago?
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, and after all,
there was a lot of hope, but there was no concrete facts here. They were just banking on Jordan Love being a piss poor quarterback. Not that Jordan Love sat behind a quarterback, and this is why Jordan Love, and like just like Aaron Rodgers, actually probably turned out, these guys were probably good quarterbacks that got to rest and learn under a fantastic quarterback, a Hall of Fame quarterback for 4 years or so, and you know, they actually learned something. That's why Aaron Rodgers was so good when he started, and Jordan Love just copied it, because you know, if these rookie quarterbacks actually learn behind someone, they can actually be good when they actually come out and start. I know payment wise that's problematic, but this looks really good for Jordan Love.
Well, that was actually where I was going, because you know, everybody wanted to write him off because Aaron, and this is the thing we talked about with the Jets, not just recorded but for most of the offseason, was Aaron Rodgers, because maybe he wasn't looking that good because age is finally catching up to him. Maybe the Packers did have a good offense. Maybe the Packers did have some good players. And Matt LaFleur, you know, everybody wants to say, oh, well, Mike McCarthy, like, you know, and Aaron Rodgers didn't get along. But like, Matt LaFleur came in. I mean, how many he had what, 13, then 14 and 14, because they like win seasons because they added the game throughout that. He had like three lost seasons in a row with Aaron Rodgers. So maybe Matt LaFleur, you know, because he's in that whole like with like Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan, like learn really how to coach, and maybe he knows what he's doing. And like Aaron Jones, before his hamstring injury, man, he played super well too. And they didn't even have Christian Watson either. So like Romeo Doubs looks like he's a solid number two. Like Green Bay always have had like a 1-2, you know, knockout punch. Like I remember like the years with like was it Antonio Freeman? I'm dating myself. Like it's like I remember Freeman and like Donald Driver, and I forget, like there were like Jordan Nelson and Devontae Adams, and you know,
there was like 3 receivers, because I know like Greg Jennings sometimes were around there, and Donald Driver, and
like you did if
James Jones, and,
right? You had to cover a lot of people. That's my thing. It's like, yeah, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, and they've got some other people that came from, you know, that are probably working their way up, and I think they still have, I forget if they still have like Robert Tonyan, but
no, they don't have Robert Tonyan. He was on the other side of the field.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they got another tight end. Okay. Anyways, they're still developing. They're gonna develop more guys. Like they didn't need, you know, like we're gonna see them keep evolving, just like, you know, the Packers have done for years.
Well, the thing is like, for the Bears, the question is, and we have to see this going forward, are they still bad like they were last year, or are they just like the Bengals and they just suck against one certain team?
Yeah, we'll see. We shall see.
Because the Bears might win every other game but the Packers this year. Who knows?
You're right. You're right. Like I said from the beginning, it's week one. Not taking two. This is why it's number one, because it was all of the hope, the hype, like the non-Aaron Rodgers, like you can get it done. So it's like that's kind of why they're on here for, like, you know, the most disappointing and stuff like that. So
we didn't talk about one of the honorable mentions I saw on your list, that I think we should.
Okay. Was there anything else with the?
That was pretty good. I think the Bears. I don't think it's time to write out the Bears just yet. I think they played better than the Giants. They could take solace in that,
right? Well, I know we've talked about a lot of games, and you're right. There's a couple games we haven't talked about. One that was going to be on this list. They that's why they were like the honorable. I think they were in the honorable mention that I forgot to talk about.
Yeah, that's the one I wanted to talk about, because I think that game had a bit more of a shock from both sides of the Vikings and the Buccaneers.
Well, first of all, after what we talked about in our last podcast, or one of our last podcasts, with being with the Vikings, we were upset that they did not get it son and done.
Yeah,
they did not get the job done. I don't know what I'd be a little bit like. Yeah, I know that the Buccaneers have a good defense, but I mean, if we're concerned about the Broncos only being able to put up 16 points, the Vikings have way more talent. Shouldn't we be concerned that, like, isn't that really disappointing that the Vikings can only put up 17 points?
I think getting rid of Dalvin Cook is going to be a bigger mistake than they realize. I don't know if Madison is going to be as good as Madison was good because, like, I think he played after Dalvin Cook, unless Madison just needs some time to get going. But, like, I think he was like the backup running back, and he was good after that most of the time.
Right. But yeah, Hawkinson, they have Jefferson, Addison got his first touchdown. That was like blown coverage. But like if they didn't if the Buccaneers defense didn't mess that up, I don't even know if it would have been that close. So yeah, I'm really disappointed if I'm a Vikings fan, because now you lost the game in that whole 1 point or one score differential. Now your point differential was like plus last season. Now you lost it in a 1 score game. That and you got too much talent, and Brian Flores was supposed to be the defensive coordinator.
I mean, Brian Flores.
They only got him to 20, but that was a Baker. Yeah, everybody wants to write off Baker and stuff, but that was a 20. That was still a good performance. But when you're thinking about it, it's like I don't blame the defense as much as the offense got 17.
There was a lot of good talent on the Buccaneers, and really Brian Flores. I think the defense did improve because they probably would have been blown out higher otherwise, but they really need to figure out offense. I mean, I know Todd Bowles has a fantastic defense. I mean, that's why they won the Super Bowl with Brady, because he can only win Super Bowls with fantastic defenses. So
I mean, there was maybe the Atlanta one. Tom Brady got a lot of credit because they had to come back somehow. I mean, the defense helped on that one to stop them from scoring any more too. But besides that, the Buccaneers, you're right. Like, the Buccaneers could sack Patrick Mahomes. They got to him. That O-line, it's like.
I mean, like I said about the importance of O-line, the Buccaneers won that because they had a piss poor O-line. Their O-line, the Chiefs O-line was hurt, so they couldn't do anything. Like, even Patrick Mahomes isn't able to save a game from a bad O-line.
That being said, Baker played good.
Yeah.
Like I said, the Vikings definitely one of the more disappointing teams. I mean, I guess I should have done a top 6. That was definitely one of the ones that I think a lot of people had the Tampa Bay not winning because the Vikings made the playoffs, and yeah, they were both playoff teams, but the Buccaneers went in with a losing
record, and you got Baker Mayfield, who was on like 2 teams last season, who not a lot of people believed in, but we believe in Baker. I think he's going to help the Buccaneers do better than Brady did in his last season.
Yeah, and they still got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin.
So that is like one of the best receiving duos in the league. Like, they might not have the stat lines, but I still you're in good company if you have those two.
Right? Like, we'll see what happens with Baker and the Bucs next week, but am I excited for them? Yeah, I'm happy. It's just really disappointing if I'm a Viking fan. It's definitely it's around the same area where I would be like with the Seahawks. Like, that should have been a game we won. And I mean, it was kind of embarrassing. It was not as embarrassing as like any of the other teams, but it wasn't disappointing. It was kind of like, but you lost. It was almost like the Commanders almost losing to the Cardinals. It was around there. That being said, we've talked about I think we've talked about every game. So I just want to fly by with the last game because it was probably like the ugliest game in some ways. Of like, it wasn't really exciting, and it was just the Saints. The Saints had a 1-point win against Titans.
I mean, statistically, the Saints had good players there, but
yeah, but it just feels like that's your typical Week 1 game. That's kind of like the Broncos. Like I wish the Broncos won because it was a home game, but it was just
Ryan Tannehill looked problematic with 3 interceptions.
They should have got a lot more points off some of those interceptions, though.
But I mean, Derek Carr looked pretty good.
Did he have any interceptions?
Derek Carr, he threw for 305 yards. He only missed 10 passes, but he had 1 touchdown and 1 interception.
So kind of mediocre. So like that's why I said like this was just a so-so game. Like,
but I mean, the receivers did, like, you had Chris Olave for 112 yards. Rashid Shaheed had 89 yards and 61 yards from Michael Thomas and 36 yards from Juwan Johnson. So you had a lot of receivers there.
A lot to build off of. I think that's the positive I'm taking away from the Saints, especially with all those punt yards. Like Rashid Shaheed can definitely play great in the special teams.
I think
if I'm the Titans, I'm a little worried.
Offensively, I'm worried. Defensively, I think both teams were really good defensively. Yeah. So I think they just have to build up their offenses.
I think, I mean, obviously we knew with them drafting quarterbacks the last 2 years, the Ryan Tannehill era in the with Tennessee Titans is probably coming to an end. And I think we talked about it. I forget if we talked about it on an other episode or if we talked about it privately. But I know you mentioned that if there was a team that would probably take him, well, one, it's going to be injury, or B, if something happens with Desmond Ridder, I think.
That was in the last podcast. That was in one of the last few podcasts.
Yeah,
I completely agree that some team will trade for him, even maybe Chicago if they keep losing.
That one would be rough. But we'll see.
We'll see.
I'm waiting for the injury. I think the injury one's going to happen first. So.
Honestly, he could even, like, the Giants could if Daniel. I don't know if they keep losing at the rates they're going.
That would be a crazy one because they just signed Daniel Jones their contract. So.
Money is money. Doesn't mean that they couldn't go for something else.
You're right. You're right. But I mean, because I keep saying Russ can get benched, so, and Jarrett Stidham might, But I honestly think depending on how it goes, we're gonna see the mailman era starting. Man, I cannot think era today.
Yeah. Well, we'll see, like, who they like better between Willis and Levis.
Hey, depending on how bad the season goes, it might just be like first half, second half. We'll see how you're doing, and so we get an idea.
A QB evaluation for both.
Right.
Playing the whole season like preseason, seeing how they go.
And the last game, because there was one more we didn't talk about it, and it was the Chiefs.
And the Lions.
The Lions, like that was a beautiful interception by Brian Branch. I mean, the whole thing. I don't want to get too into it because I know other people talked about it. My biggest thing was Kadarius Toney. I wish he had a little bit more time. Like he missed the preseason, so like he was coming back from injury. Like maybe we should have looked at Justin Ross or somebody else. Like maybe looking at getting some extra targets.
I mean, Tony was open during that play, just needed to catch it, but
right. I mean, I'm not gonna lie and say it is hard to come back from an injury sometimes, like right away after missing a lot of time in preseason. I mean, look at Joe Burrow. I mean, so like that, and at least one thing. I mean, we're not gonna see it anymore, but it showed it was a close game. Patrick Mahomes, can't do everything on his own.
Well, you need receivers that can catch,
right? Big thing is, I'm sure Travis Kelce will be back for the Jaguars game. If not,
I don't know. They're saying they have said that they're still figuring that out. So
we've always got. I always look at the news while we're making sure and stuff. But Chris Jones has signed an extension, so he will be back for the Jaguars game.
Well, they knew that when they lost, that the money they needed to pay him.
Especially when you lost in a 1-point game. So.
And to me, I was so happy because during the prediction podcast, I said the Lions is like my top team in the NFC, but I said specifically that they had one more win because I said I think they beat Chiefs even before Travis Kelce was being out and I know Travis Kelce being out definitely made a difference, but still, the Lions won the Chiefs, and that was great to see.
I changed my mind. I said that they were going to lose that game after the news, but John had more faith in them than I did. And I'm not going to be like sitting here and saying there's an asterisk, like, so
there's an asterisk,
but there's an asterisk on so many games,
right? Like injuries are just part of the game. I mean, there's an asterisk, like we said, there's asterisks on. There would be so many asterisks if injuries counted like that,
right? So
I mean, half of Miami season last season has asterisks specifically because of that.
The Bengals game. I mean, I'm glad Tua's better, but And let's not. I mean, like injuries are a big part of the game. So you can't put an asterisk, if somebody's holding out or gets injured because like that's the whole thing. You got to put a whole asterisk on last season because I'm glad Damar Hamlin's back, but if you lose that game and you can't play that game, that's one less game. And what if Buffalo did win that game? Like what if they would have affected? What if there was a way that Buffalo was fighting and they got the number 1 seed? Like we would. Yeah. So no, there is no asterisk on these games. With that being said, I anything like the Lions looked good. I loved Amon-Ra St. Brown. I love like the team. I loved how they're running their run game and their O-line like really socked it to them. And that fake punt, the fake punt game, right? Like everything was going well for the Lions, and they seem to play a bit better on offense. But I think the Chiefs have a really tough defense, and it's going to be really tough with Chris Jones back now. So I think I'm excited to see both the Lions, and it'll be the Lions going forward, and it'll be interesting to see if the Chiefs, if they don't have Travis Kelce, like will they still be able to do well? Still be able to do well on defense? Like they'll be able to do well on defense, but will they have offensive struggles continue? Right. It's a new season. I definitely think
you said it's a new season. I'm like, it's a new season. Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. I was about to say it myself, but it's a new season, and Jaguars Chiefs is going to look good next week. But that is next week. If there's nothing else left to say, week one was just it was so exciting for the most part. I mean, obviously, except for that Titans Saints game for me, but
I mean, mainly as a Dolphins fan, I'm still riding the high of that win in the 466 yards passing and the 250. 15 yards receiving, and I had Raheem Mostert on fantasy too, and he got a pretty decent amount of points. So I had Tua, Tyreek, and Raheem, so there was like half my score.
And as a Broncos fan, I didn't feel as disappointed in this loss as much as I was at Seahawks last year, because that going for that kick was just I'm just disappointed that we missed like 4 points. But that being said, I'm excited and I cannot wait for week 2.
One funny note I just wanted to mention that before the Dolphins game started, and I said I started those 3 Dolphins and they were like the last 3 players left I had, I was legitimately worried about starting the 3 of them, and 2 of them were 2 of my highest scoring players. So sometimes don't overthink. It's just go with your gut and just continue forward and trust your players.
Yes, definitely trust your players, because I was thinking about taking out Calvin Ridley and I did not, and he got me the second most amount of points that I believe on my team. That being said, we thank you for listening. Please like, share, subscribe, and I promise very soon we will have a non-NFL generic sports podcast. So stay tuned. Thank you. See you next time.